Awesome. Welcome to the Common Thread, Jake Shannon.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, first podcast, man. I'm excited about this.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Do it.
So I would like to just start off with you doing a kind of quick background on yourself. Where'd you grow up? What'd you like to do? Where you're at now? Just so the audience kind of gets a feel for who you are.
Yeah. So my name's Jake Shannon. I'm from Apex, North Carolina. I was born and raised here. I've lived here my whole life. My family has moved around a couple times, but other than that, I've been here. I have a younger sister. She's a freshman at UNC, and then another younger sister and a younger brother who are twins. And I mean, I grew up playing a bunch of different sports. I started playing soccer when I was about 4 years old, I think, and I started playing Apex Rec. And then as I got older, I think I was like 9 or 10 years old, I started playing kind of travel and like that sort of competitive soccer. And I played for TFCA. I don't know if you know what that is.
I do. I'm pretty old.
Yeah, but it was back when TFCA and Castle were a thing, and like we were big rivals. And then TFCA and Castle merged, and then that's where I played at NCFC. And I kind of worked my way up through the ranks there, and now I play for UNCW. So
That's awesome. Thinking back about that kind of transition of going from just being introduced to soccer to then a little more competitive, then really competitive. What are kind of some like key moments that you look back on as like, wow, I really love this game. I'm willing to work hard on it, make sacrifices off the field to have time to work at it. Or even just coaches that were a big impact on you. What are some of those key moments in that path?
yeah, so I definitely think one of the key moments for me that I guess kind of asked the question, like if I wanted to continue like putting the work in it was when I was in 7th grade, and it was the year that TFCA and Castle had actually merged. And I had been playing for TFCA's academy, which was the top team at that time, and they merged. And I got put on the 5th team, technically the 6th team if you count the...
So you went from top team to 6th team.
Yeah, technically 5th team, but if you count the NCFC first team, technically 6th. So that was like a big... And kind of my whole childhood, like I'd made like all the teams that I'd wanted to and like that sort of thing. And I don't know, that was a moment of like, it never made me really doubt myself because I've always like believed in myself and like I know what I want and I know that I have to go get it. But that was a moment of like, oh shoot, like that hit hard, honestly. And
I was going to say, so can you actually, since you brought that up, can you kind of drill into more that process of being like, wow, I'm on the first team to boom, now I'm on the 6th team. And what did the first couple weeks on that 6th team look like? And how did you keep yourself focused in that period?
Yeah, it was definitely hard. And I mean, I'll talk about like the tryout part, I guess. So yeah, I'd been on the first team at NCFC, and they only invited like 6 of those guys from TFC's academy into like the actual Castle Academy tryouts. So like I wasn't even selected for that. And I like knew that because those are my friends and like we had talked about it. And so I think it was split into like regional teams, like, it was NCFC's academy, and then it was ECNL, and then Elite, and then Premier. And there were like separate invites for like each kind of team. And me and a couple of my other guys that were on the team, we had supposedly gotten an email that we were invited to the Elite and Premier tryouts, but we showed up at those and they didn't even call our name, so we weren't even supposed to be there. And they still like let us try out, but like it just felt fake, and like that was just really hard, honestly. And we got put on the 5th team, the 6th team and we played for Gold South. And it was definitely hard at first because I mean I'd gone from first team to 6th team, so but I don't know. I mean, honestly, those first couple weeks were definitely hard, but I realized like this is where I'm at. Like this isn't where I want to be, and I have to put in the work to get to where I want to be, however long that takes. But honestly, that year was one of the best years of my life. Like we had kids from kind of all over, but like kind of like me, where kids felt like they should have been on a higher team than what we were on. And I mean, we put together a really good season. We beat Tusa Gold when they were like first in state, like. And honestly, it was a lot of fun. Like,
what was the demographic of that team when you came into it? Was it like a good mix of the former TFC guys and Castle South guys, or was it mainly Castle South guys and just a couple TFC guys? And then what would you say the impact of the coach of that team was in helping you guys gel in that experience with a lot of transition that year? Because I remember that transition. There was a lot of unhappy people.
Hard. Yeah. It was kind of a mix. We had a couple guys that were from my actual TFC Academy team, the first team. It was maybe like 5 or 6, and then the rest was like a bunch of Castle guys. And, like, obviously that was weird because, I mean, Castle and TFC, like, that was a rivalry.
It's like Duke Carolina, man. It's just like, we don't play together.
No, there is, but I don't know. We kind of just, like, all, like, took a step back and realized, like, this is what it is. Like, we're here now. Like, we can either just be mad at ourselves and feel sorry for ourselves or kind of get it together and try and play and do well. But our coach was also very important to that. We had actually 2 coaches that year. Our first coach, he kind of like left like not even a couple weeks into the season, so that was already like another.
See, I feel like that's good for the chemistry of the team.
No, it definitely was not. And then we had another guy come in, and it was hard at first. Like, he was playing us out of position, and I remember one of the players, like, he snapped at halftime and like, this guy doesn't play there, he doesn't play there, and yeah, that part was hard. But we kind of all, I guess our coach sat us down like at the end of the game, and he was like, I know what, not that he knows what we're going through, but like it's hard. Like, we're in a hard place right now, but we all need to kind of come together and like stay together and fight pretty much. And it's kind of what we did. And we ended up having a really successful season.
That's awesome. So then you went from the 6th team. So what was kind of the process towards the end of that year, and kind of summarize like what that path looked like back up to the top team?
Yeah. So that was my 8th grade year that I was on Gold South, and it's kind of pretty much the same story. Like, every single year I would kind of move up a team. So towards the end of that, kind of my 8th grade year with Gold South, I kind of started training up. Like, and I think it's a super good pathway, because like if you're doing well and like coaches will allow you to like kind of train up with other teams, and like so I got the opportunity to train up with Premier. It was at the time, which was the 4th team, towards the end of that year, and I did well. And next year I got offered the spot, so it was 9th grade. I was on Premier, and then that same kind of thing happened towards the end of the year. I was doing well, got to train up with Elite a couple times. So 10th grade, I made the Elite team, and then same thing, did well. 11th grade, I made ECNL, and then 12th grade, I made the Academy team.
And then when you made the Academy team 12th grade year, how many of your former teammates were still on that team, of the guys who had just jumped straight to that top team when the merger happened?
I think it was a couple. Rohit was there, who we've played together since we were like 9-10 years old. Colin McCamey was there, but he was kind of in that older group. Like, I had started to train up with them when I was in 11th grade, but he wasn't like actually on my 12th grade year team. I think he had already graduated. But so okay. I think it was just one.
Just one. So one of the reasons I was curious is, as a coach, you know, there's always a lot of pressure, I feel like, from parents wanting their kids to be successful. And a lot of times that success is equated to what team they're on, right? In our club environment, right? Like, it's a tiered system. But having been coaching in the area for 14 years, and again, SG's a little bit different environment than club, but I've gone to see from an outside perspective that a lot of times fast growth or fast reward does not always serve the kid well long term, and that a lot of times you can see some kids who really rapidly improve, but then when they hit obstacles, or they get an injury, or they get a coach they don't connect with, or they get moved to a new position, or they lose playing time, they will tend to crumble, and maybe they don't have the emotional tools or the character tools to power through those difficult times. Versus, again, your experience you've communicated, which was like, you had a big drop, but then you had that very consistent, slow, incremental growth over time, that by the time you got to your senior year, you were right where you wanted to be going into college recruiting. So I was just curious on your perspective of, I'm sure that as a kid, like, obviously you want to just be on the top team. You want to be the best from an ego standpoint. But now that you're a little bit older and you can reflect on it, do you think that slow growth has served you well, and that having to overcome that adversity early on, now that you're playing in the college game?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely agree. I think that if I was to have just made that jump, like, rapidly, like I just stayed on the first team, then I don't honestly think that I would have been as successful, because that is, like, such a big part of it is, like, you get faced with adversity, like, how do you overcome it? And I think that just honestly, like, because I was able to kind of, like, make a step up and, like, step into a harder environment, and, like, I was able to, like, adjust and adapt to that environment. And then once, by the time I did that, I was put into another environment where it was even harder, and I had to adapt and adjust again. And I continued to do that and continued to grow. Whereas I feel like maybe if I was on just the top team the whole time, I feel like I could have got complacent and, like, not able to, I guess, kind of, like, find my growth and, like, find that ability to continue to overcome and adapt that kind of hardship. But
So going to your 12th grade year, college recruiting, walk us through that process of recruitment. Obviously, you're fortunate enough to get selected to play college ball, so kind of walk the audience through what that process looked like for you.
Yeah, so honestly, I mean, I worked with my parents on this, but we honestly had no clue what we were doing. Like, my dad played a year of tennis at Randolph-Macon, and that was, like, the only kind of experience that we've had with that. So I guess 10th or 11th grade year, I went to an ID camp, Randolph-Macon, which was where he played tennis. And I kind of started, like, emailing coaches, like, here and there. I had been talking with my ECNL coach to try and figure out, like, what's, like, realistic and, like, that sort of thing. And I told him I wanted to play Division I soccer because, I mean, that was my dream. And he told me that I should probably try and look D3 and think about that. And, like, I understood that, like, where I was at the time, it probably made sense, but I didn't agree with that. So I continued to try and reach out to the Division I schools, and then the kind of soccer part developed. And then it was my, I think it was still my 11th grade year, my summer going into that 12th grade year, I played USL 2. And I had been, like, reaching out to, like, the coaches, like, in North Carolina, like UNCW, like Campbell, Davidson, all those kind of schools, Charlotte, High Point, and Aiden Heaney was watching a game during the summer, texted me after the game, and then we had a couple phone calls, and that's kind of always been, like, my dream school is UNCW, so I was very fortunate and blessed that he was at that game, and yeah.
The rest is history.
Yeah.
So walk us through kind of your time so far at Wilmington. Walk us through that transition from the game at the youth level, so 18 and under, and the difference between that game versus the collegiate game, and any kind of, like, key moments or just obstacles you ran into you weren't expecting, or the transition to college life and balancing that with the collegiate game. Just walk us through some of those things.
Yeah. I mean, I think I kind of start with a story here. It was my 11th grade year. I was 17 years old, and, like, I mean, the college game, like, they're men. Like, it's crazy. And I was kind of like a late developer. Like, I didn't really start growing until I was in, like, 10th grade and that sort of thing. And I was lucky enough to be placed into the USL 2 environment my 11th grade year. But I remember it was my first game with those guys, like, and I mean, I'm coming from, like, Apex. Like, I was playing with George Marks.
We know George Marks.
Yeah, and it was crazy. It was, I started, and we were, like, walking in, like, during the, like, the walkout, like, you'd shake the hands, like, good luck, good luck, good luck. And I hear this, like, 6'5" English guy on the other team, like, buzz cut, is like, let's get into him, lads. And I was terrified. Like, it was unreal. And, I mean, we got pumped 5-0 that game. But it was just a good, I guess, experience overall. And, like, because that's the college game. Like, you're playing against grown men who are from other countries who are here, like, fighting for everything. So that whole transition was kind of tough, but I think I was very fortunate to kind of have that experience because I mean, USL2 is pretty much just a college league in the summer. And so I was able to have that kind of experience like going into college, which was very good for me. And yeah, so basically at UNCW, it was our first preseason game against High Point, and our starting center back got hurt, which sucks. Obviously, I don't want that for him, but that's kind of how it is sometimes. Like, somebody gets hurt, and then you have to step up and take your opportunity. So I got subbed in first 10 minutes into the game, and I mean, I think I did well enough and didn't look back and started and played pretty much every minute so far. So
That's awesome. And then you're going. This is your junior year, correct?
Yes, sir.
So you've had 3 seasons now. Walk us through kind of positionally where you play. How has that changed from the youth game to the college game? Do you still play the same way? Do you play the same position? Have you had to adapt? Have you had to change your style of play? A big kind of topic in the youth game, obviously, is kids feel very, I think, pigeonholed to specific positions because that's where their comfort zone is. And obviously, as a coach, a player is much more valuable if they're able to adapt to different positions in different scenarios and have a willingness to step out of their comfort zone. So kind of walk us through that for your experience.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I play left center back for UNCW. I've played there pretty much my whole time. I've played right center back a couple times. But I didn't start playing center back until I was in 12th grade. I had played center mid pretty much my whole life. I played 6 throughout kind of my youth, 6 and 8, and I played 10 in high school. So, yeah, kind of I think it is really important that you kind of have that, like, flexibility because, I mean, a happy player is one that's playing. And, like, in college, like, if you're able to play any position, like, as long as you're on the field and able to help your team, like, I mean, you'll be a successful player.
Now, what's funny about that is if you saw Jake Shannon up in SG, you would never think he was a center back, would you, Evan? No, not at all, which is kind of funny. So, just as an anecdote, so I met you probably 3 years ago. I might have met you when you were a little bit younger, but because you were kind of south of SG, you weren't here a lot growing up, but really got connected with you in college because of the college pickups at SG. Mm-hmm. And you were about as far from a conservative center back in SG that I've ever seen. So walk me through your experience at Soccer Genome, how we got connected, why you were coming here, what the vibes were like for you. Obviously, typically we see a lot of our college players in off season, but SG is a very different environment than a USL environment or just a typical high-intensity training, which we do, but the college pickups are kind of special.
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, I don't even know how I started coming here. I think it was probably one of the guys Castle guys, maybe Shane or Curdy, yeah. I don't know. But no, I mean, I love it here. Like the 2 nights ago, like it's just honestly so much fun. Like I just love it. Like it's a whole like community. Like everyone's together, like everyone's laughing. No one wants to go home. We're begging you to stay till past 10:30.
Gosh, it's so late. I'm like dying.
I'm trying to go to bed.
The joints are hurting. Can't sleep because my heart rate's up.
But yeah, I don't know. Every time I get here, there's just like a sense of like honestly belonging and like joy and just love for the game. And I don't know. I think this place is special. And I think what you've done here is just amazing.
That's super awesome. Yeah, so one thing that I think I've come to appreciate more and more about SG, but also just about players developing in general, is there's got to be some moments, especially the more competitive you get, where you can just let loose and enjoy the game. But that also does not mean that the quality has to drop. And I think that's one of the cool things about the college pickups and the alumni program at SG, because we've been around for about 14 years now, is I never watch you guys play and feel like, man, they're having a really good time and the soccer's awful. Like, the quality is usually really high, considering there's nobody telling you guys you have to play with quality, but everybody's just letting loose and enjoying the game. And nobody obviously wants to ever have to sit out, because if you have to sit out, you're out for 20 minutes. Walk us through, as an elite player, how you balance the intensity of the environment. I mean, it is a job, right? And obviously as well, if you have aspirations to play at the next level of the game, it really is a job, and there's always a new younger player coming in. So how do you balance both the pressure of the game without losing your love for the game?
Yeah, and that is definitely a very hard thing to do. Um, I feel like if you don't love the game, like, why are you playing? And I feel like you kind of have to keep that. And, like, it is hard to kind of balance that, like, pressure. Like, obviously, like, when you're in a college game, like, I mean, you have to do everything you can to win. And it is hard. And, like, coaches will, like, tell you, like, you have to play, like, a certain way. Like, and that's kind of a thing that I learned, like, in college. Like, I mean, I'm a ball-playing center back. Like, I like to keep the ball, play. But at times, like, you can't do that. Like, you can't play. You have to play what the game gives you, and, like, you can't risk certain things. So kind of one thing is, like, the coaches started telling me to, like, be a defender first, and, like, obviously it's like, I mean,
Does that mean you just got to clear the ball sometimes? You
pretty
can't play
much.
out of pressure?
And at SG, I don't know. That's just what I like. Like, I don't have to just kick it here. I can play and, like, show my love for the game and, like, express myself truly. But yeah, it is hard to try and find that, like, balance. But
Well, and again, if you have every player on the field doing what they want to do, right, you don't have a cohesive unit. So that's the beauty of the game, is that you've got to sacrifice some of your personal preferences for the sake of the team. Yeah,
for sure. And then you can have your fun after the game once you guys win.
Yeah, exactly right. So you made an interesting comment that I'd like to drill down into more is basically the fact that it is intense and it is hard and it's not always fun. But if you don't love the game, why are you doing it? So all of the hours, all of the training, all of the sacrifices to play to where you currently are at, how do you envision that paying off when you have to hang the boots up?
For me, I know that.
Or have you even thought about that?
Yeah, I know. I was talking to Evan a little bit about that, but I know at some point that it's going to end. But I honestly don't see myself, like, going away from the game. Like, I mean, I don't know what's in the future for me, but I'd like to become a coach someday or something like that, to be able to kind of instill my love for the game, like, back, like, on the younger community. Because, yeah, I mean, I just love it so much, and I feel like if I can help show those kids, like, what it means to play soccer, like, that I can help them and, like, help them get to even higher in that.
So what do you think it is about the game of soccer that keeps people coming back or keeps you coming back, knowing that at some point, like, the body's going to slow down, at some point you can't keep playing at a really high competitive level? So what is it, do you think, about the game that keeps you coming back and keeps other people coming back beyond just, like, whether or not you can play college ball or you can play pro ball?
Yeah. I honestly think it's, like, a sense of community. Like, I've met so many, like, different players, like, during the game, like, places I've gone and trained, like, guys that I now follow on Instagram, and, like, we follow each other, and, like, I just think it's such, like, a big community, and, like, there's such a love and passion that is so cool, and, like, a group of people, like, share that, and I just think it's amazing.
So, Jake, walk us through kind of some of your biggest kind of accolades to date in the game.
Yeah. So I hope that is yet to come.
Just to date.
I guess one of my big ones is being a captain of a Division I men's soccer team. I guess 8 years looking back, I feel like I never would have truly thought that was possible. But definitely that. I kind of want to include high school soccer because that was a huge part of everything. I think making the semifinals my junior year was a big accomplishment for our team. I'll actually kind of go into this a little bit, but that was also one of the hardest moments probably of my life. Is my sophomore year, our head coach, Kevin Todd, passed away.
Was that during the season?
It was not during the season. It
Okay.
was before it was about to start.
Okay.
And I think that was around COVID too.
Okay.
So that whole kind of process was, like, just super tough for us. And I mean, Coach Todd was such an amazing man. Like, he was one of my role models, and, like,
What were some of the character traits that he kind of embodied that really resonated with you?
the way he carried himself, and how positive he was. Like, no matter what was going on, he always had a quote. He was like, "Let's make today a great day."
I love a good
And
quote.
like, I'll remember that forever. And he was honestly such a leader, and I was so thankful enough that like he was able to provide me a voice. Like even my freshman year, like he was asking for advice from me on the team, and like I was like just a freshman. Like how is this man giving me a voice to be able to have opinions on that sort of thing? And like, I mean, I still play for him today. I write KT on my wrist tape
That's
every
awesome.
game. But
If
yeah,
you could only pick, let's say like two traits that you feel like he really embodied, that you could basically embody as a captain at Wilmington, what would you say those two traits are?
I would say one would be hard work, and
Can you
another,
define that a little bit? What do you mean by hard work?
yeah. I mean, he would have us summer workouts. We'd be up at 6 a.m. running on the track before the lights were off. And I mean, that's kind of what the whole process is like of soccer, is like getting the extra hours in, like making sure you're fit, like, and it was off season too. So it's like grind never really stops. And yeah, positivity as well. I feel like kind of fostering that positive environment is just so important to like team success and like team morale. And he was able to do that like our freshman and sophomore year. Like we loved going to practice. We loved getting up at 6 a.m. to go run because he's there yelling at us, encouraging us. So I feel like those two traits definitely.
So, walk us through how you envision the hard work piece and the positivity piece as a captain on Division One team, because obviously there's a lot of different egos, a lot of different players. Not everyone is always going to be super aligned with the team goal and vision. And you as a captain, that's one of your roles, is team cohesion. So how do you deal with the difficult people on the team or the different personalities to get them to buy into the hard work piece and the positivity piece?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's tough. I feel like you kind of have to create a relationship with pretty much everyone because everyone's different. There's different things that are going to work for different people. And like sometimes like the more talented guys like are those guys that like will kind of like slack off and like that sort of thing. But I feel like you have to get to know them a little bit and like kind of their background and like where they're from, and try and like help them realize that at the end of the day, like we're a team and like we have to come together and realize that you're going to have to kind of put aside your ego and that it's going to be best for the team. Like if we all work together and you do this and that sort of thing.
When you talk about the hard work piece, obviously nobody on the Division One team is going to be there if they haven't put in some level of hard work. But every team also has those handful of guys who are just self-starters, and I'm sure a couple names come to your mind thinking about your team that they don't have to be pushed. They're just always going to show up and grind. And they're not always the most talented. Usually as a coach, I find that those are the guys who know that they're not the most talented, and so they show up and put in the extra work. As a leader, how do you kind of utilize those kind of key guys on the team who maybe they don't even play as much? Maybe they're just guys that are there for the trainings, but demonstrate and embody that level of hard work. How, as a captain, do you still acknowledge those guys and use them to kind of act as a catalyst for the rest of the team?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of showing them that like their work matters, like, and those guys are so important to the team. Like to have those guys that are doing the extra hours and like they may not even get rewarded for it by not playing, but I think it's showing like the whole team that those guys matter and those guys are still contributing to our success, and that honestly for them to keep going because they will get their opportunity. And I'll use a guy from UNCW, for example, Bennett Jones. He'd been there for 3 years, hadn't played, but at every single training, every session, he's hyping guys up, yelling at guys, do this, do that, working as hard as he can. Doesn't play, but this past year in the semifinals against or quarterfinals against Monmouth. We go to PKs, and he gets put in, makes 3 saves, and we win.
And that's wild. That's
awesome. It
awesome.
was the most unreal feeling that I've ever felt, and I've never been so proud of someone. And that's it. The work that you do right now, it may not show right now, but at the end of the day, the hard work that you put in, you will get results out of it. And it was unreal. I mean, he put hours and hours in the 3 years that he didn't play in. I mean, I think it showed that it paid off for him at the end.
And then for the positivity piece, obviously that means more than just people being happy and falsely positive, right? So talk to us about what you mean by embodying as a captain the positivity piece and how that translates both to the trainings, the games, off season with the team. What do you think positivity really means as a captain?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it means encouraging your guys. Obviously things aren't going to be going the best all the time. You're going to lose games, you're going to have bad sessions, but I kind of feel like that means helping your guys push through. Okay, you didn't get that pass, move on to the next one, and that kind of sort of thing.
Are you more of an extrovert or an introvert on the field?
Definitely introvert. That's kind of one of the things that I'm still working on, is being good at using my voice and that sort of thing. But I mean, I'm more of a lead by example sort of guy. Work hard, do my job well, and I feel like that is important to have those type of guys on the team, but also guys that are loud and vocal, and that's also one thing that I'm sort of still working on.
Yeah, so I think that's one thing. There's probably a lot of introverted players who think that if they're not the loud extrovert, then they can't lead and they can't be a captain. So what are some ways that you over the years have been able to utilize your natural gifting as an introvert, right? I think sometimes it's got a negative connotation, but typically I have found that introverts can be sometimes more aware and more perceptive of the overall environment. So what are some ways that you've had to grow through that and be able to utilize that as a gifting, and maybe encourage other introverts out there that are maybe younger youth players that haven't really grown into that role yet?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you just got to show up every day. You got to get to the fields early, and guys will see that. If you're doing all the extra things, and that kind of I think inspires them to start doing that as well, and that will kind of create a whole team kind of bond. I think it's also making the right decisions off the field is important. Making sure you're getting your sleep, eating right, all that sort of stuff. But yeah.
So, switching gears just a little bit, if I were to ask you, what are some of the transferable skills you've learned because of soccer that would apply outside of the game? What would you say some of those transferable skills are that you've been working on that you could easily say, hey, this would apply to relationships, this would apply to a future career, this would apply to hobbies or things that I'm interested in outside of soccer? Because I think this is one area that I'm personally very interested in as a coach, is all of the things the game teaches you that transfer outside of the game. But a lot of times players, parents, they don't always view the game as basically a training ground for all of these great skills and attributes that you can develop that apply off the field. So what are some of those things for you?
I think one thing would definitely be proactiveness. If you kind of wait around, for soccer, you can't, I'll go back to my example of how I made the bottom team. I could have just sat there upset and kind of just finished, but being proactive, I knew what I needed to do. I started going to the fields early, working out, trying to do everything that I could to get to where I wanted to be. Because I feel in life, if you want something, you have to go out there and get it. No one's going to hand it to you. And I also feel I don't know if it's really a skill, but I think it's being present, honestly. People always talk about the good old days, and I talk about the good old days too, but I know that the good old days are happening right now. And in a couple years, I'll look back and realize those college years, man, they were the best years of my life. So I think being present where you are, is very important.
Yeah, so I think, one thing that I have always felt and has been a big part of the soccer genome journey for me is like the best days are still coming. Like they're ahead and building towards those.
Absolutely.
So talk to me about what some of your goals and dreams are 5 years, 10 years down the road. If you were to just kind of close your eyes and envision where you want to go, knowing that the future can change, what would you say those things are?
I mean, obviously my dream is to be a professional soccer player. I'd like to do that for as long as I can. But kind of like I said earlier, I love to instill my passion and love for the game on other children. I think whether that's being a coach or I don't know. I mean, I think what you guys have here is pretty awesome.
I think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think maybe working here would be.
Dang, so we're going to have to collect some job applications at the end of this
cool
interview.
Too.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this place, like Sport HQ, another one, for example, like kind of just like not like a whole big club yet, but it's like a place where like you can go and like have fun, work hard, train, and like still have that kind of love for the game. Like,
yeah, I would say one of the really cool benefits of what we've built is we really are interested in just building a community, right? A soccer community. And we've always said like we're not interested in being a club and competing in leagues and all that kind of stuff. We just want to be a place where any player at any age, skill level can come, play, train, and grow, both as a soccer player but also as an individual. So if I were to take the game of soccer away from you today, what would Jake Shannon do tomorrow?
That's a good question.
You can't coach, you can't play soccer.
Yeah. I don't know. Honestly, I'd probably want to, help people somehow. Growing up, I went to a church and we would do service projects for people. We'd go and help less fortunate people who who their houses aren't so good, they're messed up, and we would go and help them. So maybe that, I don't know. I mean, I love to help people. I want the world to be a better place. I don't know how I could do that right now, but I think doing something like that.
Something outward focused towards other people.
Absolutely.
One thing I can absolutely say that was one of the first things that really caught my attention about you as a player when you would come and play at SG is you were always very warm, and you're very warm towards other people. Like a lot of players I've been exposed to over the years, where you can really see their ego come out is how they treat other players around them. And I've always really admired that quality about you, even when, sometimes when you're doing the picks at SG and you got to pick that fifth player, you pick your fifth player, maybe they're not the same caliber. Like sometimes really talented individuals, they look down on those people. But for me as a coach, having worked with so many players, like there's always a bigger fish. And a lot of times those players will eventually get to an environment where now they're the guy getting looked down on. And so that's something I've always admired about you. I've always felt like you've always been super warm to everybody on the field. You're just trying to have a good time, but also just elevating those players around you. So I think you're onto something with doing something outward focused towards other people. So we're going to have to check in with another podcast one of these days, see how that's going. So just in closing, 2 questions. One question is geared towards kids, so still youth players in the game of soccer. And then one is going to be geared towards parents. So one of the things that's very important to me at SG is we don't want to just work with the kids. We also want to help educate the parents and invest in the parents, because we know the parents are going to be probably the biggest cheerleaders, but also, unfortunately, sometimes the biggest detriment to their kids' success. Mm-hmm. So as a message to kids, what would be your message as someone who's reached a pretty high level of the game, that is geared towards how they should approach the game? A lot of kids in competitive soccer approach the game for what can I get from an achievement standpoint.
Yeah.
And I think for me, again, I think a lot of the ethos of this conversation has been around like, what is the game teaching us? What about the game is growing us as people? So what would your message be to those kids coming up in the game right now?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the main messages would be to believe in yourself. Having self-belief is the most important thing, I think, like, because at times your parents will like be hard on you, maybe tell you that you can't do it, like coaches will tell you that you can't do things, but if you have that internal drive and that I guess, passion and motivation that you can do anything, no matter what anyone tells you, that you will be successful in life, in soccer, whatever it is. Like, yeah.
And then for the parent side, I'm just curious as someone, again, who has made it to a pretty high level, what would be a message to parents with kids who maybe have aspirations of playing college ball, knowing that statistically most of them won't play at that level? So what would be your message to parents to how best to support their kids as they're coming up through the game?
Yeah. I definitely feel like making sacrifices is something that has to be done. That's very hard, but like I know for me, I was very fortunate. My parents sacrificed so much time and money. Like we have 3 younger siblings, we all play sports, and like how they have sacrificed that time and money to help 4 other kids be successful is something that is amazing to me, and like I'm so thankful for. So I just feel like if the parents are able to sacrifice for their kids and continue to help them find their passion and what they want to do, then that's very important.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for coming on the Common Thread today, Jake. And
sure.
we'll definitely have to have you back on and check up where you're at.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.